A new survey shows that 1 in 10 female students say they have experienced sexual assault while in college. And here to talk about that is family therapist Dr. Linda Mental. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
First of all, why has this become such a huge problem on college campuses?
I think we really need to look at sort of the perfect storm that we've created on universities. There's out of control drinking, and most college campuses and universities do not enforce any kind of drinking policies. We've got so much partying going on. We've got sexual, there's sex weeks at a number of the universities, and a lot of the Ivy Leagues have Sex Week, where they bring in people from the porn industry. They do demonstrations, sexual demonstrations, as educational learning for students. So students are inundated with sexual activity, and the norm in the culture is such that students think that you're supposed to be sexually active, again, without showing the consequences of sexual activity and the fallout of all of that. So the hookup culture is very prominent on college campuses. You add drugs and alcohol to that, and you've got a mess in terms of when we're talking about sexual assault.
Wow. Well, talk about something called Title IX. What is it supposed to do?
So Title IX it has to do with any university or college or any educational facility that accepts federal funds. So I'm just going to read it to you. It's an education amendment of 1972. It's a federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any educational program or activity. So any kind of sexual assault, any kind of rape, any kind of claim that you've been assaulted in any way, and any kind of sexual assault is usually defined as anything that happens to you sexually without your consent. So that's sort of the big umbrella. So every university and college sets up a Title IX office. And what happens is that if you have a complaint, or if someone who knows you has a complaint, it can be a faculty member, a student ally, they call them, friends of a student, or yourself, the Title IX office is where you go to make that complaint.
Okay. Well, this is obviously a big problem on secular college campuses, but what about Christian colleges?
Well, I would say that I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen on Christian colleges, and some Christian colleges are doing more to set up those Title IX offices, especially if they accept federal funds. So again, with the culture being a little bit different, we know that there's always acting out on Christian campuses as well, but the norm is less towards the drinking and the promiscuous sexual hookups, because there is that sexual, teaching in Christian colleges about what sex is really intended for. The marriage bed is where it's supposed to be, but those kids live in the culture, so they're being inundated with all of these other norms, and we're finding out that sometimes, sadly, Charlene, that Christian kids don't look that different from the kids that are in other universities.
That's really sad.
It is.
Wow. Well, talk about how can a woman avoid becoming a victim?
So the issue here is that you have to give informed consent. And so one of the things that gets in the way of that, obviously, is intoxication and the use of drugs, or even going to a party, and maybe you're drinking a Coke and somebody slips a date drug into your drink. So you have to be very aware. And what I would say is, unfortunately, you have to be a little more vigilant. You have to really know the people that you're hanging out with. You need to make sure that you're not in a situation where you can be taken advantage of, and certainly keep your wits about you. So, of course, I would recommend to all students to not be drinking, to not be taking drugs, to not be hooking up in a casual way, because this is where we have all the problems and it's difficult to do. But even so, a woman can be raped or sexually assaulted when she's doing none of those things. So we teach self-defense on a lot of college campuses, and we try to make co-eds aware that this is a real problem and you need to be prepared with some self-defense tactics and not being in a place alone at night where you could be assaulted.
And sadly, if a woman is assaulted, what should she do?
Then she should go to the Title IX office, or you can even fax a complaint in, you can email a complaint, you can go to the Regional Department of Education and make a complaint. And colleges and universities are very up on this now and know what they need to do in order to go through the steps of either prosecuting it or sending it to prosecution and getting all the parties involved and working out a solution.
Excellent information. Dr. Linda Mental, thanks for being with us. And you can find out what Dr. Linda has to say on a wide variety of relationship topics on her website. It's called drlindamental.com.